Hello everybody, Astocky here, and welcome to another quick video where I'm doing some talking about testing the new 1.7.2 Technicality pack. This is version 2.2.2, so it's been updated since yesterday. The 0.2 here means it's the second build. This one means there's been some minor block updates, and basically what I've done is I've added a mod called Quiverbow. It's really quite cool, so once I get in I'll show you what it does. Just give that a few seconds to load up. Basically what it does, now there's been a few people who've said to me, if you just type @mod dot, it'll bring it up. No, it doesn't. That doesn't work under 1.7.2, and as soon as you basically type @ it clears everything out, so that's clearly not working for 1.7.2. There's also an issue with these GUI tabs here, that if you put it on anything other than like a large GUI size, the GUI doesn't update properly to follow the tabs. So it's not an actual problem, it just causes it to glitch a little bit. Obviously you can't see what I'm putting in there, and I can barely see it either. So I'm just going to go back to GUI scale auto, because that seems to work just fine. There is another bug that I've been made aware of, thanks to MC Gamer 111, I think it is. If you get a crafting station and place a chest next to it, you can normally open the inventory. There's actually an issue with it at the moment where if you try and pick up an item from the inventory, it actually throws it on the floor. Now I don't know if that's an NEI bug or if that's a bug. Actually, I don't know what basically causes that bug. Something else I'm not sure about is, for some reason, I didn't get an inventory when I started then. I should have had a starting inventory of stone tools and torches and things like that, so I might have to have a look into that. Yeah, it's done it again. So yeah, not totally sure what's causing that. What I'm going to do is, I've seen these kind of errors a couple of times. What I'm going to do now is just stop the video and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so what I've basically done is just exited out of Minecraft, deleted the world I had, and I'm just creating a new one now. I've seen a couple of mods that for whatever reason don't unload properly when you switch from one world to another, and therefore they think they've already run by spawn with stone tools. Yeah, there we go. So I'm not totally sure what causes that. It definitely works just fine when you quit and then come back. So yeah, not totally sure what caused that. But yes, the Quiverbow mod. What it does is it adds, obviously you have the regular bow, and then you have the Tinker's Construct bows. It also adds, obviously got a different name, so I'll just find the item for them. That'll be the easiest way to show you. So many items. Gone the wrong way now, I've gone too far. At least I think I have. Okay. It would seem like the mod hasn't... Back in 1 second. Okay guys, sorry about that. Turns out there was a bit of an issue with the pack not updating properly. So we are back in the world. So basically you have your regular bow here. You have your Tinker's Construct bows. You then also have down here a bow with quiver. And a bow with quiver is crafted using 3 leather around a normal bow, and what it does is it has slots for up to 256 arrows, and if you want a full one, it's not showing me the recipe right now, but basically what you have to do is you have to make things called arrow bundles, which are arrows around a piece of string, and then basically you put those, if we go to uses, basically you put those with your regular bow, and then you can see it kind of charges up a durability bar, which is how many arrows it's holding. That's basically how that works. Well, there's another bow called an ender bow, and it has two eyes of ender and an iron ingot, and it gives you a really cool like purple particle effect that shows you where your arrow is going to hit, plus it zooms in, so it's kind of a bit like a sniper bow, so it's pretty epic. The other ones are the arrow mortar, which is quite an expensive recipe, and it fires a whole bundle of arrows at once, and wherever it lands it kind of explodes into arrows. There are also the crossbows. Now the way these crossbows work is each time you fire one you have to put it back in the crafting table with an arrow to reload it, but it does a little bit more damage than a fully pulled back bow, plus it kind of shoots instantaneously, so that gives it some pretty cool effect, but you have to reload it. The double crossbow has two arrows, and it uses, as it says in the description, a sticky piston and a redstone repeater to actually reload it. There's also the auto crossbow, which you shift right click after each shot to reload it, and it holds 8 shots. So there's those ones, which I think are pretty cool. There are also a number of other things that are added by the mod. There are dragon boxes, coin tosses. A lot of them, if you have a look, don't actually have recipes, so you can only get them in creative because I've disabled them. The dragon box though fires fireworks. Does quite a lot of damage to whatever it hits, but doesn't destroy any terrain. The actual rocket launcher has like a creeper explosion wherever it hits, so that's a bit OP, so I've disabled it. A lot of the other ones have been disabled as well, just because they don't kind of really fit in with the theme of what I'm looking for. The 4-headed dragon box fires 4 at a time, but like I said, most of them are disabled, so you can't use them. Now, there's been some questions about the intent of the mod pack. Now, I know the first 1.6.4 version that I released, that's cool, it had, what's the biome called? Magical Forest. So the first version that I released focused on Ars Magica, Dartcraft, had Buildcraft, Forestry, and a few other different mods that kind of supported Ars Magica and Dartcraft. There's been a question, well, why am I not sticking with that theme when it comes to 1.7.2? And the basic reason is Ars Magica has just updated. Now, Minecraft Forge, which supports mods, updated to 1.7.10, so it's already left 1.7.2 behind and is moving on. Ars Magica just updated to 1.6.4 as a new version, and it made quite a lot of changes, so it's not going to be block compatible anyway when I go for the new version of it. So it's going to be, well, I'm going to have to create new worlds anyway, just to update to the new version, let alone when I get to the 1.7.2 version, if and when it comes out. I have no idea when that's due out. Thermal expansion also, they're currently working on some trials and some tests for it, but there's been no idea specified as to when it's going to come out either. So that kind of took it out of the game. As for Dartcraft, not only is there no idea at the moment when Dartcraft is going to update in the same kind of vein, it's also, it really is a little bit, it's a bit too much, it's a bit overpowered. It really drives the focus of everything people do on the server for people to use just that mod by itself, because it basically adds free enchanting and a whole lot of other things like that really kind of take away from what I normally expect when you're playing Minecraft. So it's a lot of fun, but it's just a bit too much. And you know, each update that it adds, like the fairy fountains that have just been added, those things just kind of spawn everywhere. So there's a bunch of stuff that just doesn't fit well with what I guess my vision of the pack was to start with. A lot of fun, but just a bit too much. So I made a bit of a list of all of the things that I wanted in a pack, and if you just give me a second, I'll just bring that list up so I can talk to it a little bit. Back in just a moment. Okay, so I've got the list up beside me. Basically, the things that I was looking for in the pack that I was making, because that's pretty much what everything's about as far as I'm concerned, is getting the pack that I want. It's not so much about having the mods, although I did think that those mods were particularly good. I've also realized that by just using those mods, I was excluding quite a few people who might have otherwise wanted to play the pack. And it doesn't change the pack from being what I think the pack should be by just adding a couple of extra mods to it. So the first thing that I wanted to add was control of ore generation, because that's pretty important to me when you're running a server, to be able to control how much ores you have. Pretty much because you want to make sure that you have lots of ores. So basically I added metallurgy to replace thermal expansion, because thermal expansion previously gave me control of ores. So yeah, now added metallurgy. Now the next mod, or the next thing that I wanted, was the ability to flatten bedrock, because that's a pretty neat feature that I really like. It just stops you wasting so much of your game world. And thermal expansion did do that. Thermal expansion again hasn't updated, and I'm not sure when it's going to update. So I went for the mod flat bedrock. And the next thing I wanted to do was have a way to double ores. So the pack now actually has a couple of ways to double ores in it, and that's not ideally what I wanted. I typically try and only have 2 ways of doing things. The current pack has 3, which is a bit more than I wanted, but basically thermal expansion did it previously, and so did Ars Magica. Now you can do it with Ender.io, which is kind of the replacement for thermal expansion, which makes sense. You can also do it with Applied Energistics, and you can do it with a third mod, which is Tinkerer's Construct. So again, that's a little bit more than I was really hoping for. But I can kind of live with that if everything else balances out fairly well. And that's where I will hopefully convince you, I guess, in a second that I think things are pretty well balanced out. Because the next thing that I wanted to have is like machines that could do sort of general things. And so for that, I've kind of replaced again thermal expansion with Ender.io, but Applied Energistics does some of it as well. So the next one was power storage, which again thermal expansion had, and now Ender.io has. And Ender.io is actually kind of a better fit because it can use RF power, but it also is pretty good at using Buildcraft power, so Minecraft joules. So it integrates much better with Buildcraft for Buildcraft's sake than you were getting with thermal expansion. It's not quite the same in terms of the number of machines and things that it has, but I think that it interfaces really well anyway. So I've mentioned that. You can then got pipes, and previously it was Buildcraft and thermal expansion and a bit of Darkcraft. Now it's Ender.io, Buildcraft, and Applied Energistics adds some pipes as well, but mainly it's going to be Ender.io. There's some automation, same kind of mods again. Now the next one was a big one for me, because it's something that I think helps make Minecraft just a little bit more fun. And again, fun is kind of what you're going for, and that is I have added repairable tools. And so previously it was Dartcraft, and then there was a bit you could get with Blood Magic. So now you've obviously got, instead of that, you've got Tinkerer's Construct, which is basically instead of Dartcraft, because it adds the same kind of ability to almost have like selectable enchanting on your tool, so you can pick what kind of things that you want. You also have Buildcraft additional tools, which allows you to make like the drills and things like that you can power up. There is also, trying to think of the name of it, there is one other one that I can't think of off the top of my head at the moment. But yeah, there is one more that adds the same kind of feature. Botania, I think it is. Yeah, it adds mana tools that basically repair from mana. So again, we've kind of got that covered. Now backpacks were added by Dartcraft. I was going to add a separate backpack mod, but I sort of in the end decided not to go with that and to go with Project Red. And that's one of the ones that I'm a little bit iffy about, kind of whether it is the mod that I want to have. I'm really struggling to decide whether Project Red is something that fits in with the pack or not. I'm really interested in what you guys think, because everything else I think fits really well. Project Red is the one that I'm a little bit iffy on. Adds a whole lot of stuff that's really good. It adds, different kinds of It adds a bunch of cool tools. It adds obviously some redstone type special integration stuff. So it adds a lot of really cool things to the game, which I think is brilliant. It could be a bit more than I really need though, because like I said, realistically for the balance that I'm looking for, all I really wanted was backpacks, and it adds a lot more than that. Yeah, so then I needed storage, so to replace the Dartcraft chests I've used iron chests, which it's probably a little bit more than I really wanted. And you've also got Applied Energistics as a storage system as well. So I think between the two of those, that balances out, well, at least they work fairly well to cover all the bases people would want. Selectable enchanting, I've got better enchanting as well. I was going to say there's one more thing. Oh, wrong pick. So yeah, for selectable enchanting, that's a really good diamond haul. Pity this world isn't going to probably live past today. So yeah, there was selectable enchanting, magic-like items again, which is Dartcraft, and that's replaced with Tinker's Construct and Botania. There was the ability to recover materials, and Armor Smelter kind of replaces some of what Dartcraft could do with that. Again, it's not a total replacement, but it's kind of one. And that's what I've ended up going with some of the mods. I've ended up going for, I can't completely replace what Dartcraft did, but I can get something that's a fairly good resemblance for what Dartcraft did, or at least what Dartcraft was mainly used for, without really breaking too many things. Where's my way out? Up there, okay. So we've also got the ability to chop down a whole tree, which you get with Tinker's Construct, and I think Thorncraft 4. Healing mod. There was Ars Magica and Dartcraft, both had abilities to heal. I haven't kind of got a really good replacement for that, but Botania, Blood Magic, Witchery, all of those kind of magic mods together sort of add a whole lot of functionality that replaces that to a pretty good level anyway. Unlimited ranged attacks. We can't really get unlimited anymore, but Quiver Bow adds a lot of really good things that I think help quite well. We've got automatic farms and auto mining. The auto mining, currently it's something that's lacking a little bit, but Buildcraft definitely has auto mining in it. And we've got the Little Helpers mod, which kind of adds some fairly good stuff in terms of automatic farming. So it's not like certainly not a replacement for forestry, but obviously forestry hasn't updated, so it's a pretty good, pretty fun, I think, type setup. Yeah, so Peridot. So we should be able to make some Peridot tools now. Still need coal because I'm running out of torches. So what were we talking about after that? We were down to lots of foods. Again, we've got Pam's mod, so the Pam's mod's updated and carried through quite well. Renewable dyes we've got with Pam's mod. Renewable ores, we haven't really got renewable ores, but I've pumped metallurgy up to not just give me control of ores, but actually to give me quite a bit of ores. So it shouldn't be that we have a real problem with ores on this, playing on a server. I haven't looked very hard and I found quite a lot. Clay, now where was I a few seconds ago? Yeah, clay is something that I think is a little bit rarer than it should be for how much people like to use it. So that's why I have added in this particular mod that allows clay to spawn underground. I think it's called Pam's Clay Spawn, and that kind of really solves that little need. And then obviously we've still got chisel and we've still got carpenter's blocks. So yeah, Ars Magica again hasn't updated. I'm not sure when it will, so it's been replaced by well, I've pretty much replaced it with Thaumcraft 4. And I think in general terms, Thaumcraft 4 is just a bit more popular than Ars Magica ever was. So again, I think the pack that I had didn't really appeal to everyone. So you're kind of looking for something that has a bit broader appeal, or at least I'm kind of looking for something that has a bit broader appeal this time. So yeah, we've got Thaumcraft 4. Got Witchery, because Witchery single player isn't that exciting, but it has some really cool stuff when you're playing on a server with other people. Like the ability to make voodoo dolls of them, and the ability to change weather and things that are, you know, fun and cool to other people. So that's all good stuff for that. Britannia adds some really cool things. It adds tools that repair with the power of mana. It adds like a constantly generating, pretty well set up type mana system, which I think is pretty well fleshed out. So yeah, it adds some really cool stuff. I've talked about. I guess I haven't really talked about why Tinkerer's Construct's in. It's really, in my mind, the replacement for Dartcraft. Dartcraft had so much stuff to do with tools and almost a bit of cheatiness. Now I was thinking about not putting Tinkerer's Construct in. I decided in the end to just kind of nerf it a little bit to take out. That's not good. It's totally going to fall on my head now. Yeah, I decided to nerf it a little bit to take out the ability to make stone tools, and then also the tools that you do make to be able to upgrade the level of them. And I think that balances out better with what it is that I'm looking for, which is really just tools that you can kind of repair. So you can, you'd be able to use iron ingots to repair your iron tools, which I think is fitting with what it is that I'm looking for. So I think I've covered pretty much everything. I mean, that there's obviously going to be things that I haven't thought of, that are things that are added by one mod or another to kind of make things better here and there. But yeah, I think for now anyway, that's pretty much got it all covered, and that's kind of why I picked the mods that I've picked. I am honestly genuinely interested in what you guys think of the mod pick. Applied Energistics and Project Red, I'm not sure if they're going to have a continued position in my pack. That's, I mean, it is what it is. I like them. They're both really cool mods. I mean, Applied Energistic adds automatic crafting automation, and a bunch of other really cool features. I'm just not sure if it fits in with the theme of everything else that I'm kind of going for. Now, I know how I said originally this was going to be a bit of a magically themed pack. But I think it's become much more than that. So this is in particular to, I think it was Pyro who was talking to me and saying that, you know, he'd be interested, but doesn't really like magically themed packs. Like I said, I think it's gone way further than that now, particularly by adding Project Red, which adds that what do you call it? I guess you'd just call it you know, redstone automation, and then you've got Applied Energistics, and you've got Tinkerer's Construct, and all those other kinds of things. I think it's a good, balanced technical aspect to it that's only going to get better as Buildcraft updates. So yeah, I think it's gone from being a magically themed pack to being a pack that I think is now just balanced. If you think there's a particular mod that overpowers a bunch of other mods and kind of takes them out so that they're, you know, not relevant, not worth playing with, please let me know, because that's, like I said, that's what I'm really trying to avoid here. I'm trying to avoid one kind of mod that just takes over from everything else. I'm trying to get balanced, and like I said, probably two mods to do each thing, because I think, again, not everyone likes only having one option for doing things. People like to have a little bit of choice and a little bit of selection, and hopefully this should add that better than the last 1.6.4 version did. So again, really interested in what you think. I really do want the beta testers to come up with where there are problems, like that issue found with the crafting table. I think is an excellent issue. Tinkerer's construct, if it is the problem, isn't going to get fixed, so it's always going to be a bug. And the reason for that is because he's already moved on from 1.72 to 1.10. Fortunately, the rest of the mods have not yet kept up, which means it's going to be quite some time before the rest of the mods catch up. And that really just is what it is. There's nothing much I can do about that. It's going to have to wait until we get to the next version, which hopefully means all of these mods will update to 1.710. And I anticipate it's probably not going to be too long, because Forge is out now, it's stable. I think when I looked yesterday there was 70 mods that had already moved over. You know, Ender.io's already moved over. So I don't think it's going to take that long before the 1.7 mods update. I think the big portion of the, I guess, difficulty was moving from 1.6 to 1.7. So now that people are there, it should just be a matter of course until things are updated. And you know, some might even work with both. And that's something I probably am going to need to test out at some stage, just to see which ones already do work with both. But for now anyway, the pack, it is what it is. I think it's okay. I don't really like the fact that Applied Energistics and Ender.io and Buildcraft all add pipes. I wish there was a way to get rid of kind of one of those three without losing a whole lot of stuff. And I think that probably is the problem, that I would lose too much stuff if I got rid of one of them. Again, if anything was going to go, it'd be Applied Energistics. But I think a lot of people like Applied Energistics. I like the simple grinder it gives you. I've never used it, but I like the fact that it can do like auto crafting and things like that. I think the balance, oh that's bad. I think the balance setup with it is actually pretty good, because it is quite difficult to get going with it, except for the grinder, which is a good early game grinder. Project Red, it's based on Red Power, so it's really pretty good in terms of balance and how it plays out. Thaumcraft 4 has always been like challenging but fairly well balanced. So I mean, I think everything that's in here now is probably better balanced than the 1.64 version of the pack I had, because yeah, Dartcraft just kind of left everything behind a bit, and that's why it was the focus of the pack, because I knew it was going to be a bit too much for most mods. Before people go and ask, I don't want to put thermal expansion and IC2 and all those other kind of mods in there, because I think it's kind of a pick a mod and stick with it. And looking at Ender.io, I think Ender.io is really cool. Let's go to cheat now. I want to show you something that I think is really cool about Ender.io. I don't know how much power this thing uses, if it even uses power at all. Yes, it does use power, so we're going to have to give it a power cell. Ooh, creative Buildcraft engine, that's cool. Hello. Creative capacitor bank. So basically what this does is you place a block you want to paint with in there. So let's say I want things to look like pink wool. So I place my pink wool block in there, and then I place any regular item. So let's say I have a regular door. Okay. Obviously it can't paint everything. I kind of thought that it could, but I guess not. So my next question is, what can this thing paint? I do know it can paint fences, because I've seen that happen in one of the videos that someone did. So basically it takes your fence and it paints it the color of whatever you have. So you have painted fence. So let's check what we can paint. So we can paint fence, we can paint gates, we can paint walls, we can paint stairs and slabs and glowstone. And it looks like we can paint carpet as well. So does that mean if I get What kind of stairs can it paint? Cobblestone apparently. So it'll be interesting to see what the texture comes out like. There you go, it comes out looking just like wool. So yeah, so there's a number of different things that can be painted, and that in conjunction with carpenter's blocks, which allow you to make everything else kind of texturable and paintable, I think fits pretty well with the kind of... I myself am not a mega builder, but I get mega building and people who want to, and people who think mega building is cool, and I would like to have a server where people want to mega build. So that's why chisel, carpenter's blocks, and the ability to paint things with Ender.io I think is so cool. So yeah, I've just rambled for a really long time, but for those of you who have requested to be a dev tester, or those of you who are already one, and you're not maybe sure how to access the dev builds, the way that you do that is you open up... I'm going to need your meat, Mr. Cow. You open up... What? Come on. Talk. You open up the Astocky team launcher, and it's not going to come up as an update button for your regular version, because I've said don't automatically update to dev builds. And then basically what you do is you need to get a... what's the name of the item? It is... you go to packs, you go down to technicality, you go install new instance, and it will default automatically to 0.7.2, which is the latest regular version. What you then have to do is go to the option where you can select the version you want, scroll right to the very top, and it will give you all the dev builds. And when you get to the very top of all the dev builds will be the current one, which is 2.2.2, and that will allow you to install this and test it out. I'm really keen to know if there are any issues with it. I really appreciate the support of the people who are helping me out. I'm also really keen to know, just in general, what you guys would like to see in the pack, so that it's a pack you guys will want to join me on a server with. Again, I think the last one probably didn't have enough to it, and that's why this time I've tried to think of some good ways to sort of add two mods that do everything to make it a bit more of what people are looking for. Now that I'm cheating though, I'm going to show you the crossbow. So the way this works is you just point it and shoot, and it fires an arrow. And now I can't fire it again until I put it in the crafting table here and reload it with an arrow. There's also the double crossbow, which you right click to put the second arrow in, then click again, and it's got a really cool little animation too. If I show you, you can right click. Oh no, that one just actually clicks. It's the auto crossbow that has the cool animation. So get myself one of these auto crossbows. This one, see the little green bit? I click, I shoot, there's no arrow, and then arrow. So shift, right click, which I think is just awesome how quickly that thing can shoot. And like each shot you can see does average damage 10. This single crossbow does average damage 20, so it's twice as good. Obviously you can't shoot as fast. Regular bow depends on how long you hold it down for, but if we get the fully loaded quiver bow, you can see it says 256 arrows, and so you shoot, and you shoot, and you've got less arrows. It's basically just to make things a little bit easier, so you don't have to have an inventory full of arrows if you're going to, you know, fight a boss or fight an ender dragon or something like that. And it's pretty easy to craft. Now the ender bow, this thing is absolutely epic, but it requires arrows. Basically, you hold right click down and you can see it zooms in, and then it gives you those little particle effects. So I know now if I shoot, it's where it's going to hit on the tree. So you fire, and sure enough, where all those blobs of particles are is where the arrow hits. That's like a cool endoscopic sight. There we go. Just where it said it was going to. And yeah, those things take probably 30 seconds or so to disappear, or if you're walking to them they disappear straight away. That stuff's cool. There's also a blaze bow. Now what this one is, this is a crossbow that reloads the same way as a regular crossbow, except you reload it with blaze rods. And when we fire, you only get one shot out of it, but the shot actually hits things, and when it hits them, it does knockback and 30 points of fire damage, which I think sets most entities on fire. But I did hear a sheep, so let's go test that. Yep, there you go. So it sets them on fire and kills them. Uses blaze rods though, so it's pretty expensive, but could be really handy. What just happened? Did I lick a magic mushroom or something? Whatever happened, doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's another pretty cool weapon. Yeah, so there's just heaps of really cool weapons, and once again I'm rambling, and this video's gone for a lot longer than I wanted it to. Hopefully though, you guys are interested in helping me out, interested in getting this pack to be a really good pack that everyone wants to play. So again, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate you watching my videos and helping me out with the pack. Until next time, Astocky out.